Kneel at the cross, Christ will meet you there. Come while He waits for you. Listen to His voice. Leave with Him your care and begin life anew. Kneel at the cross. Leave every care. Kneel at the cross. Jesus will meet you there. Kneel at the cross. There is room for all who would His glory share. Bliss there awaits, harm can ne'er befall those who are anchored there. Kneel at the cross. Leave every care. Kneel at the cross. Jesus will meet you there. Kneel at the cross. Give your idols up. Look unto realms above. Turn not away till life's sparkling cup. Trust only in His love. Kneel at the cross. Leave every care. Kneel at the cross. Jesus will meet you there. You know, one time there was a servant of God, and he was a servant of Abraham and a servant of God. And he came to a city. He came to a city one day, and God brought him to that city. And Abraham sent him down there and told him that, he said that, to go down to that place and get a wife for my son Isaac. Then he said that, don't let him go. Don't take him back there to that place. Don't ever go back. Don't ever go back. But look up. Look forward. Look unto Him that's able to deliver you out of your troubles. And Abraham began to talk to him, and he said, put your hand under my thigh and swear unto me that you'll not take a wife of the people, of the women of this country, but you'll go back home and get a wife. That God has blessed you. If God blesses you with a wife, you've got a wonderful wonderful time. Well, you've got a wonderful relationship. If God blesses your home, well, you've got King Jesus on your bond. Well, you've got a wonderful home. You've got all you need. You've got all you need in this world. You've got a wonderful home, and you've got God. And you've got heaven when you die. Well, I tell you, there's not anything better than that. And that servant, he said, perhaps she'll not come with me. Well, he said, then you're not bound by your oath, and you're free from your oath, and she won't come with you. He said that God would send His angels before you. God will send His angel before you, and He'll prosper your journey. God blessed us today. God sent His angels before us today, and He blessed our journey down to this present time. I can see how that old servant said that I being in the way. The Lord led me to the house of my master's brethren. The Lord leads you if you get in the way. One of the old writers said in Jeremiah, I being in the way. He said, stand ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old path, wherein is the good way. Walk therein, and you shall find rest for your soul. You'll find rest if you get in the way. Jesus is the way today. Jesus is the way from heaven to glory land. If you want to see glory land someday, you got to have King Jesus on your bond. You better have King Jesus on your bond when death comes creeping in your room. You better have him. You better have somebody. You better have somebody on your bond. You better have somebody to go your ransom today. He paid the ransom for us. That old song says, home, where the ransomed ones gather. Home with the Lord Jesus. How wonderful it is today. The fact that you read these stories back that happened so many years ago. Back thousands of years ago, and God was still there. In the beginning was God. In the beginning, God. In the beginning, God. That's all you have to know. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. God created it all. It don't matter what time that you fix up in your mind, how long we've been here and all this stuff. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And I'll tell you today that whenever that Abraham talked to that servant, he said that you promised me that you'll go back home and get my son a wife. He knew that his time on this earth was just about over with. And you know that he came into a city. He came into that city, and there was a well of water there. I found a well of water one day. That God showed me that city. I found a well of water. Out of your bellies shall flow rivers of water. Out of your bellies, He said, will flow water. We found a well of water one time. He said to stand ye in the ways and see. I got in the way and I found a well of water there. I'll tell you today that it's the best sip of water that I ever took. I tell you get a drink of that living water and you won't have to worry about thirsting no more. You'll be like that woman was when Jesus spoke to her. If you knew who it was that asked if you a drink, you'd ask for that living water. I'll tell you that water is alive. In Him is life. He can give you life today. You're either alive or dead walking around. I walked around as a dead man many years in this world, but one time I tasted of that living water, and God took my feet and put me on, lifted me up and placed me on higher ground. And when that servant came down to that place, he came in and he saw that city. There was a great city there. I'll tell you that the Scriptures tell us about a city about a city that's over there in heaven. Well, there's a golden city over there. And I know today that it sometimes you can't hardly describe or say what kind of a place it is, or even understand what heaven is, but it's a wonderful place. What he tells us, describing it with all the gold and silver and pearls and all the beautiful things that we're able to imagine in our minds. And still we don't know how beautiful heaven is. But you know that he came to that city that day. And he realized that God had prospered his way. And he said, "Blessed be the God of my father Abraham." Blessed be the God of my father Abraham, that he's prospered my journey. He said, in the way the Lord led me to the house of my master's brethren. Bless the Lord today, oh my soul. And he began to, as he began to go there, he came to that city, and he even made his camels kneel down. They all knelt down there before that well of water. And it kind of reminds me of getting right with the Lord. And you think about that all, whenever that you come to that point, that everybody ought to kneel down with you. That you can seem like you can feel nature. All the nature that God has made. All of God's wonderful things that he made, and all the beautiful trees. The writer said that the mountains and the hills shall break forth before you into singing, and all the trees of the field shall clap their hands. You feel at one with nature on that day. And that servant he knelt down there before that well of water, and he began to pray, and he said, "Oh Lord, would you show me this day? Would you help me? Would you make my journey prosperous?" I know that he must have realized that God had led him there to that place, into that well of water, and he began to ask him. And ask him for, he said, whenever the maidens come out to get water from this well, would you have the one that you've chosen? Bless God today. Isn't it wonderful that God chose you? It's wonderful today that, the scriptures say that many are called but few are chosen. It's good to be the one that God has chosen. God has chosen this royal priesthood. God has chosen this holy nation. God has chosen a peculiar people. God has chosen you out of this world. God has chosen you today. You've become a part of the greatest family that was ever in this world and will ever be. You become one of God's children. As he began to pray, and it seemed like it was, it didn't seem like it was enough that God had already blessed him all the way down there and showed him that well. But he's no different than me when it comes right down to it. We always want to see something else. Let me see just something else, just to make sure. He said that whenever the maidens come down to take water, that there was a group of women came down there, and there was a young woman named Rebecca that came. She let down her water pitcher. She carried a pitcher on her shoulder. I'll tell you today that I can still see that in my eyes, and I can just imagine all those young maidens coming down. Coming down off of that hillside. Bless the Lord, oh my soul. He said that whenever that they come down, whenever that when I ask for a little drink of water, let them go a little further. Let the one that you've chosen go a little further. We'll go a little further if we've got the Lord on our side. We'll go a little further than if we've got him, because we've got the courage and strength to do it. Have you ever got enough courage to ask God to do something? This servant said that the one that you've chosen for my master, The one that you've chosen, let her go a little further. Let her say that I'll go and fetch you a drink. No, let her let down her pitcher and say that I'll go and get you a drink, and I'll also draw water for your camel. I'll do a little bit more. Whoa! She began to, and he looked and he saw this young woman, this young maiden coming down there. Whoa! She reached down. What? He said, fetch me a little drink of water. No wonder these old timers said, go and fetch this and fetch that. What? It's what they said back in the Bible. It's what God's family's always said. And you know that she said, let me go. And she went and she dipped into that water and she gave him drink. And she said, let me go also and get water for your camels. Whoa, bless God today. He realized that God had prospered his journey. Whoa, I realize today that God has prospered our journey. Whoa, God has blessed us being in the way. Whoa, God has led us to the house of our Master's brethren. Oh, God has led us this way. King Jesus, if you've got King Jesus on your bond today, He'll lead you right down to that well of water. That when you take a drink of it, you'll never thirst no more. You know that whenever that he looked and he saw her, and he realized that God had blessed him to come down there that far, he rose up. And he took a gold ring and he put it on her hand. And he took golden earrings and put it on her. And he dressed her up in gold. God has dressed this old sister up in gold today. God has dressed her up today and fit for heaven. Yeah. God is dressing his bride up today. Yes. God's dressing his bride up today to meet him in the air someday. Because we shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in the moment and twinkling of an eye at the last trump. For the trump shall sound and the dead shall rise. I'll tell you, sometimes the dead's going to rise up. And God's going to have you dressed up. God will have you dressed up fit for glory on that day. God will have all of his family dressed up and fit for heaven on that day. And whenever that he got up, he put those golden earrings on her and on her hands and on her ears. And he said, do you have room in your house? I'll tell you, we have room. We have room enough for you in the house. There's room in God's house. This is God's house today. I'll tell you today that there's room in heaven for you if you want to go. I'll declare to you today that there's room. There's room in the house for you. There's room in the house for you. He asked her, what's your name? And she told him that her name was Rebecca, and how that that her father was Laban, the son of Nahor. The son of Abraham, or whatever, the family of Abraham, right down through the lineage of Abraham. He told her, she told him that she was of Abraham's lineage. How wonderful it was that God had led him down there to that place. God will lead you on the right path if you'll ask him. If we get off of the path, it's because we got off of it. It's because we didn't listen to that low, still voice. That as she went down there, and as they came towards her father's house, they came into that place, and there was her, and there was Laban, and he said, and he looked, and he said, why standest ye thou without? Why stand you without? He said, come in. Come in. There's room in the house. I've prepared the house. The house is ready for you. You know what? Didn't even know that man was coming. But he knew that God had blessed him. He knew that God had blessed him, and he could feel God in him. He said, there's room in your house. And we've got straw and provender for your camels. We've got something good to eat for you and your animals. Come into the house. Well, come in and dwell with us. And that's what I say to you today. Come in. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I'll give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me. For I am meek and lowly in heart. Whoa! And you shall find rest for your soul. He said, for my yoke is easy and my burdens are light. Whoa, today you know that there's room in Father's house. There's room in Father's house. There was room back at that time. There was room back at that time, and there's still plenty of room in there. There's still plenty of room in there. And you know that he didn't argue with them people when he got over there. He did just like what we do whenever we come into the church. We come in and we've got something to say to people. You know, your master will give you the words to speak. And he began to tell them about his master Abraham and how that he had sent him down there to that country and told him to go back home into the family. Go back to the family. Go back home and get a wife for my son. Oh, and you know that he went back and he said that I came and he told him his experience of how he came into that city. We've all got an experience to tell. We've all got an experience of grace to tell. Whenever that God blesses us on our journey, no wonder the brothers talk about his travail and talking about this godly sorrow and getting on that journey home. Well, there was a time in my life that I got on the journey home, and I said, I began to get sorry for the way that I'd lived. And I started on the journey. Well, I started home, and I wooled around trying to get home every way I knew. Well, but one day I decided. One day I realized I looked up like that old king that time. I realized that God was there. That he was with me all along. That I had put myself through all of that. And you know what I had to do? I had to surrender my life to him. And say, Lord, would you have mercy upon me, a sinner? And it's just that simple today. If you want to go to heaven, you look up towards heaven. You look up towards that great city today. And you say, Lord, have mercy upon me, a sinner. And he'll reach down his arm of mercy to you and ask him where the house is. That old servant asked him to prosper his journey, and he said, I being in the way, the Lord led me to the house of my master's brethren. And I know today that if you'll ask the Lord, he's faithful and just to forgive you if you'll ask him. And I know that this story goes on, and it talks about going all the way in, and how that the Lord came in, how that the servant came into to her home, and how that they seemed to. He had he had these camels loaded down with all of these goods and all these things. He had everything loaded down, and he had brought him a dowry with him. He brought him something to let him know that that God had blessed him to be a rich man. And if you've got one of God's children, you're a rich man. If you get a wife of one of God's children, you're a rich man. And I know today that God has blessed me in my life. I know that he's blessed me to be here to this place and be down to this present time. And whether, it seemed like yesterday was a hard time for me, and I talked all night in my sleep and everything else, Colleen said, but still we wake up in the morning and realize that joy cometh in the morning. That God blessed us to live one more night. God blessed us to be, whether that anybody wants to be here or not, we're here. Whether that anybody wants to come and listen or not, The Lord has blessed us to be here. I being in the way, the Lord led me to the house of my master's brethren. And that's, we can do the best that we can. We can tell them whether that they hear or forbear. There comes down to a point in your life when you've got to lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and run with patience the race that's set before you. Ever looking unto Jesus, the author and the finisher of our faith, who for the joy set before him endured the cross. I'll tell you, he knew about it. Well, he had to endure a lot, but he knew that there was joy waiting over there. He knew what joy there was in heaven. There's joy in heaven today. Wow, there's joy in heaven today when one surrenders their life to the Lord. The angels sing. The angels are singing today somewhere. Oh, there's somebody today offering their life to Christ. There's somewhere in this world, it's like Brother Arnold said, we don't worry about whether we're the only ones or they're the only ones or who is. Well, but God's family is the only one. God's children are the only one. And if you're one of God's children, you're one of the chosen. Well, that God has chosen you out of this world. That you're no longer a part of this world. That you're in the world, but no longer a part of it. You've taken a step toward heaven. Oh, the Lord has reached down His arm of mercy to you and lifted your feet and set them on a higher ground. There's no greater feeling in this world to realize that you're a child of the King. They went through all of these things, and they didn't want to let their sister go, and finally got down to the place to where that he asked her whether she wanted to go or not, and she said, "I'll go." It has to be you. It has to be you today, whether that you go or whether that you stay. It has to be you that answers. When it comes down to that last breath that you take, it don't make any difference what anybody else says. It's you. It's you that either has to suffer, or it's you that has to enter into that glorious place. And I hope someday to be able to enter into that place and shout and sing forever. I hope to enter into that place to where we can all lift up our eyes on that day, and like all of those ones that are over there in heaven that are casting their crowns toward the Lord and singing glory, hallelujah. I hope someday we can sing glory, hallelujah, glory to His name. So today, she looked there. She went with that servant and all the things that they'd collected up, and the concubines and all these things, and all of her servants. And as they looked afar off, they saw Adair. They saw that. It kind of reminds me of that pearl that the Lord places that pearl out into that field, right out into the middle of that field, and he looks out and he can see that pearl. They looked out. They looked, and there was Isaac out working in the field, and he lifted up his eyes, and he looked and he saw her coming, and he knew that the Lord had blessed his life. Someday we're going to look up and see Jesus. Someday we'll look up and see Jesus coming. And we realize on that day that God has prospered our journey. That God has blessed us on that day. Whatever that we've had to endure, that God has blessed our journey to get there. He's blessed us on our way. So today, if there's anybody been praying and feels like God, for Christ's sake, has forgiven you of your sins, and you want to take up membership